To understand the book of Galatians, you really have to understand what was happening in Acts 13 to 15 on Paul and Barnabas' first missionary journey and then at the Jerusalem Council. On the first missionary journey, Paul and Barnabas went through southern Galatia and they planted churches in that region. Paul preached the gospel of grace through faith apart from works. You can read that in Acts 13, 38 and 39. But when we get to Acts 15, we see that there were false teachers who came and they insisted that if these Gentile believers were really going to be Christians, they first had to be circumcised and follow the law of Moses. This led to a council in Jerusalem where Peter and James and the apostles who were gathered there affirmed that Paul's gospel was the true gospel, that we are saved by grace through faith apart from the works of the law. A short time after that council, Paul heard that false teachers were infiltrating these churches in southern Galatia, the churches he had planted on his first missionary journey. And so he wrote this letter because he was deeply concerned that they would abandon the true gospel for a gospel of works righteousness, a gospel of legalism that was promoted by these false teachers known as the Judaizers. In Galatians chapter 1 and 2, Paul is very personal. He expresses his deep concern that they are thinking about and toying with abandoning the true gospel for that which is no gospel at all. He talks about some of the behind-the-scenes stuff at the beginning of chapter 2 that happened at the Jerusalem Council. He ends by talking about his confidence in Christ, that he's been crucified with Christ, and therefore he's dead to the law, and the life which he now lives, he lives through Christ. In chapters 3 and 4, he talks about the theological reality that we are not under the law of Moses, but we are in Christ. Just like Abraham was justified by faith apart from works, so we are justified by faith apart from works. And then in chapters 5 and 6, he gives the practical implications of that we are free from legalism, free from bondage to the law, that we are free to walk in the Spirit and free to demonstrate genuine love, which he argues is the true fulfillment of the law. In fact, there's much in Galatians that actually parallels what Paul will later write in the book of Romans. And I think that connection between Romans and Galatians is very important, even historically. Because if we go back to the Protestant Reformation, it was his study of Romans and Galatians that led Martin Luther to understand that the sacramental synergism of a works-based system cannot save, but rather that those who are in Christ, the true gospel, is that we are justified by faith apart from works. That's a message that encourages every believer because that's a message that's about the heart of the gospel.